So, for those who are joining right now, welcome to this webinar where we'll be talking about the 2020 Red Year Forecast. I am Shu, I'm a Feng Shui consultant, and I use Feng Shui as well as Chinese astrology. That the one I use is called the 4-pillar astrology to do all of my energy forecasts and readings. So the topic for today is about how we are going to leverage the cosmic weather and the energy that we will be having in 2020 and to maximize that so that we can maximize our positive energy and flow in our life and work. I make the subtitle as how to ride the tides in the 2020 year because as you can see what is happening around us in the global stage, you will know that 2020 doesn't sound like a very peaceful year ahead, whether politically or economically. So while the tides will be going up and down, how to ride the tides to our benefits. This is what we're going to focus today. And I will, of course, give you tips and suggestions on how you can utilize the Feng Shui and the 5 elements to improve your vibrations in general. So 2020 will be a year of metal red. You can see the red mouse in the icon. So in Chinese, we use the 12 Chinese zodiacs, which is represented by 12 animals. And red is actually the first zodiac in the entire system out of the 12. So we'll explain that a little bit more later on. So this whole webinar will focus on how you can maximize the energy of the year to bring more positive energy into your life and work. My focus is always on helping individuals like us to maximize what we can do in our lives. So we'll be covering an overview of the energy of the 2020 year of red energy. And then we will talk about the themes and keywords we have for the year. We will also take a bigger picture of a view of what we've gone through since 2018. And what is the bigger purpose behind the year of 2018, 2019, and the next year, 2020? I will also share the prospects and development in terms of industries and who will have better luck in 2020. And then at the end, I will also share information about the Feng Shui influences of the year. So a quick overview of who I am. My name is Sue, and I am a Feng Shui consultant, born and living in Hong Kong. And I study Feng Shui and Chinese astrology since age 13 from my uncle, and we have visited and assisted a lot of homes together. And I also get myself certifications in traditional Chinese medicine wellness, as well as Tibetan singing bowl. And that's why I always include this kind of wellness concept into my teachings of Feng Shui, because I believe that wellness and physical well-being and emotional well-being is all connected to our internal mechanism as well as our environment. It's also my mission to spread the modern interpretation of the traditional Feng Shui campus school across the globe, because I believe that we can all leverage the space that we call home to improve the quality of life. So that's a quick overview of who I am. And before we start talking about the 2020 year's energy influences, can you do me a favor? So take out your phone, pull out the calendar app and mark February 4th, 2020, and mark it as the beginning of spring day. So do this now. Take out your phone, open the calendar app, and mark February 4th, 2020 as the beginning of spring day. Remember to make a reminder, say 1 day ahead before February 4th. So I will share with you how you can utilize this information on that day. But this is a very, very important day. I'll explain why. So do this now. Mark February 4th in your calendar. Okay, so in case you're new to Feng Shui, what we do in Chinese metaphysics is all about categorizing our world into 5 major elements, which is earth, metal, water, wood, and fire. And among those, we will divide them further into 2 categories, the yang and yin, the yin and yang. So the yin is the feminine, it's the flexible, it's the small, it's the soft side of the energy, and the yang is the masculine, the big, the strong, the hard, the tough energy. So altogether, there will be 10 groups of energies, and based on the matrix of this energy, we can then interpret the world through the lens of the matrix and the combination of these energies together. So this is the basic of what we do in trying to understand the world through the lens of Feng Shui and Chinese astrology. And what we ultimately seek is the balance among them. So there will be dominant elements in a certain period, but then what we're trying to do to make that year to be more peaceful, more harmonious, we are seeking balance, the seeking of balance, of power in between the elements. And what we are doing today in terms of understanding the energy of the 2020 is that we tap into the energy to understand our cosmic weather. So consider this forecast or any kind of astrology forecast you are listening from other Western astrologers or other system of astrologers, that we are understanding the cosmic weather like we are looking into the weather forecast. If we are planning to a trip tomorrow to Hawaii for a holiday, you will go to see the weather forecast, right? To get the prepare ahead of what clothes that you're about to bring, what kind of activities you'll be planning. If it's raining, if it's sunny, you will have different plans. So it's the same for us when we are trying to tap into the cosmic weather right here to understand when will be the energy that is favorable to you and when will be the energy that is not so favorable to you, and how you can make plan B and plan C when you know that ahead of time. So when the cosmic weather is favorable to you, you of course want to be active, to be proactive, and to embrace change. When the cosmic energy is not so favorable to you, you want to be growing your patience. You want to build more solidly on your foundation. You want to learn more, study more, do healing work, and do inner work. So this is what we're trying to do by understanding the energy of the next year. It's just to understand the cosmic weather. And the cosmic weather alone does not equals to your future reality. So this is a very major concept in Chinese metaphysics, that our world, whether it's our current reality or our future reality, is formed by 3 major elements: the heaven, the human, and earth. And each of that occupies 1/3 of the formula. So understanding the cosmic weather alone is only understanding the heaven part, which is the bigger forces that is beyond our control. But we can understand that. We can't change the weather, but we can understand the energy and the flow of the weather. Yeah, this is the heaven part. And the human part, of course, is talking about our decisions, our intentions, our actions, our own characters, our mindset, our psychology on how we consider certain things, our concepts about what is happening to us or for us. So this is the human part. Of course, it includes free will as well. And then the earth part talks about we and our relationship with our environment, It talks about Feng Shui, of course. It talks about how we work with our environment, about climate change, how we protect our environment so that our environment can support us in return. So the heaven, human, and earth, each of it occupies an equal stances in the formula of forming our future reality. So the cosmic weather alone is only 1/3 of it. So don't be too scared or be too optimistic when you know that the cosmic weather is favorable or not so favorable to you, because it takes your action as well as your relationship with your environment in order to bring that into future reality. Plus, the alignment of the divine timing of these three elements are super important. So that's why sometimes, even when you're doing the right thing in the right place, when it's not in the right timing, the result is not as smooth. When it's not aligning all three elements, the heaven, human, and earth. And I really hope you to understand this concept, because for all forecasts that astrologers are doing, this is a major concept for you to understand, that we're not trying to give you information about destiny. It's not about it's not about fate. It's not fatal. There's a lot of elements that we as humans can do through free will, through our actions, through our conscious decisions, and how we connect with our environment and the resources around us when we are aligning with the divine timing. So this is a major concept. Now we are going to dive into the energy forecast of the year of Metal Earth. So the Chinese New Year this year happens on January of 25th. However, when we are calculating the annual energy, we will take on the date of 4th of February of every year. Sometimes it will be 5th of February, but more or less the same. Every year, where we mark that day as the beginning of spring, which is the beginning of a New Year's energy. And that's why at the very beginning of this webinar, I asked you to mark February the 4th on your calendar, because this is the real start of the year of the Metal Rat, not the Chinese New Year. Okay, so the nature of the year is hosted by two major energy, Yang metal and Yin water. So the qualities and the natures of Yang metal is that of a warrior, is that of a hero. Yang metal is also represented by swords, by weapons that is used in the war. It also symbolizes the nature of someone of a warrior who have determination, who have discipline, who are loyal to the country, who are cold, who might be tough sometimes and tend to use force to solve problems. It could also represent the iron fist style of problem solving. And in climate, Yang metal is represented by wind. And then another host of the year would be the red, which is Yin water. And red, as we all know, is smart, is small but flexible, is very alert, it moves fast, and it works best in the dark, in midnight. Red is the first zodiac of the 12-year cycle. So right now, we are still in the year of the pig, which is the end of a 12-year cycle. And then moving on, 2020 marks the beginning of a new cycle. So red also is represented by winter's river or rain. So the two elements, metal and water, actually works well with each other. Metal produces water, which means that the energy this year is pretty dominant and strong with the metal and water. So in astrology, we always take a look a bit at the history of what happened last time when we have a metal red year. So the cycles repeat every 60 years. So the last metal red year, we have 17 African countries declare independence. Is the United States and Vietnam is still in the middle of Vietnam War, and John Kennedy was elected as the US president. That was what was happening in the 1960s. And then one more 60-year cycle back would be the 1900, which what was happening is the Eight Nation Alliance battling in Imperial China. So China was still in Qing Dynasty, and the Eight Nation, I believe it includes the US, the Britain, Germany, France, Italy, Austria-Hungary, Japan. Yeah, so we can kind of feel, if we take the history into account, that although I'm not very, although I don't focus on making political or global prediction in terms of energy, but we can feel that in a global political perspective, 2020 doesn't feel like a peaceful year at all. In fact, it actually feels very competitive, and the countries would not resolve the conflicts through negotiation, and they might come into some kind of war directly. So this is what we might need to be a little bit aware of, especially if you are into international trade in a large scale. So this is what we have. If you are into history, you can dig a little bit deeper about what's happening 60 years ago and to trace backward. So we can take a look at the birth chart of the year, which, as I mentioned, we take the 4th February 2020, and it's happening at around 5 p.m. in my time in Hong Kong. So this is the birth chart of the year, which you can see some characters as well as some elements here. So the astrology that we are using is called the 4-pillar astrology. The 4 pillars is actually the year pillar, the month pillar, the day pillar, and the hour pillar. So we're going to take a look at the compilation and the matrix of the elements at play here. So we just take a simple count, right? So the earth element 1, 2, 3, and then metal element 1 and 2, water element 1.5. So we can say that the earth energy is pretty strong this year, which the earth element is strengthening the metal, which acts as the foundation for this year's host. The year's host is metal and water, right? So it's pretty dominant as well as a host. They have at least 2 and 1.5. So they are pretty dominant, as well as having strong earth to support them as a foundation. So they are alliance. Earth and metal and water are alliance. So which means this year's host, metal and water, will be having dominating effect of the year. But the energy are pretty cold. I'll explain a little bit why on that. Energy pretty cold, meaning that there's very weak wood and fire element. So you can see fire element only 1.5, which is not in a dominant palace in this exposures, and wood only 1. So pretty weak for now in terms of wood and fire energy. So if we want to give a visual analogy to describe the energy of the year, it would feel like you are in a mountains area like this with snow on top of the mountain surrounding you, and there's rainstorm that has just stopped, and your clothes are all wet. And then in a faraway spot, you see a tiny fireplace. So what do? Of course, you rush to go to that fireplace to warm yourself up and to dry your clothes, right? So if we use an imagery to visualize this energy, it will feel like that. Everybody will feel like pretty alone in a cold places, surrounded by mountains with snow, and there's very strong wind blowing on you, rain flowing on you, and in a tiny faraway place, you see a little fireplace. So that's how we describe the energy this year. So this year, we all need a little more warmth because 5 elements represents compassion, giving, vitality, warmth, and optimism. Because I've mentioned that metal and water energy is pretty cold, and water actually represents fear in terms of emotions. So we all need a little bit more fire energy to bring up our faith, our hopefulness, our optimism, and warmth to those around us. And I can predict that Cold War could happen not only between countries, but also between generations and between individuals. So that's a good reminder for us all to add some warmth next year, because we might not tend to remember that. Because while having the metal energy so strong in 2020, we might be a little bit more harsh to ourselves and to those around us and to those in power as well. That we might forget that we need a little bit more compassion and warmth when we are having the relationship with each other around us. So that I think that warmth can melt away the walls in our hearts. So this is a kind reminder on how we navigate the energy next year. And then let's roll back a little bit on how we get here from 2018 to next year. So the year of the dog 2018 was a double young Earth year, which a lot of us feel like two big mountains standing in front of us. That we feel like the hard work has very slow progress. We feel like a lot of obstacle in front of us. There is no moving, stagnant, feeling stuck. That kind of energy in 2018. And then moving on to 2019, which is this year, the year of the pig. This is a yin, earth, and yang water energy, meaning it's a farmland with strong flowing rivers. So people will gather to compete for the resources, as we can see a lot of chaos in everywhere around the world, with the fire, with the protests around the world. This is the year that is very optimistic, as there's a lot of competition and a lot of dirty mud are all stirred up right now, like the flowing river are pushing through the farmland to throw up all the dirty mud and to rise onto the surface. This is what is happening energy-wise in 2019. And then moving on to the next year, which is the start of a new cycle, the year of red 2020, we will be having yang metal and yin water. So it feels like cold wind and rain, and together they will bring rainstorm. So what does rainstorm do? Rainstorm can frustrate the weak and those with shallow roots and foundations. So ask yourself, are your foundation solidly built? So whatever in the world that is with solid foundation, it can stand the test of strength. And if you've been if you've been started building your foundation since 2018 till now, and if you feel like your foundation is solid enough, then yes, please continue to build the house. And if not, it will be out. So if we can see 2020 as a strength test for real, for the rainstorm to test if you are solid enough to stand and push through till the end. So if we say the purpose of 2019 is to offer us insights to new ways of new possibilities through the unravel of dark secrets, through disclosing some deep under the carpet root causes that has been ignored for ages, and to allow them to rise to the surface for us to heal, for us to resolve them, for us to solve the deeper issue so that we can move on. Yeah. It also symbolized the end of a cycle. And more importantly, 2019 is a powerful year to help a lot of us collectively to rediscover our voices and potentials. The voices of the people are shouting to be heard through all the protests happening around the world, especially, I'm from Hong Kong. And if you are into the news, then the people are fighting for the freedom they are promised in the law. So the rediscovery of the voices, as well as the Greta effect happening around the world on the climate change, this is all about rediscovering the voices of the people. And then moving forward to 2020, it will be a real test of strength. It's not about being idealistic anymore. There will be bigger, more compelling forces bigger than us to help uproot the old and corrupted. And it's some kind of survival of the fitness game, just that the game rule now is not the same as what we've been using for decades. There will be a new game rules set by this new cycle. So the survival of the fitness is playing a new game with the new game rules. So look forward to that and be prepared. And the new game is helping us to redefine what is the best for us as individuals as well as the collective. It's also a reclaim of our personal power, because with the compelling forces and changes happening, fighting for your own good is no longer an option. It becomes a need and a compelling actions that we have to do in order to survive in the new game rules. So I would expect in 2020, more freedom fighters will really rise to the power and to use the personal influences and voices to change the world. So this is how we look at the energy of the years since 2018, and to understand the bigger picture behind all of this. So my suggestion for you for 2020 would be to make yourself ready and flexible to structural changes in the outer world. So, for example, being more frugal, save more money, reserve your financial resources, and don't put all your eggs in one basket. So I know Black Friday is coming, but don't waste your money on items that, for example, home decoration items that you won't be reusing next year. So save up that money and invest in something that you can get something in return in longer terms, or invest in something that gives you more strategic benefits, like having your natal chart reading done with me to understand yourself better, your strengths, your weaknesses, to help you plan your business activities month by month. So be more conscious about how you spend your money and focus and resources, because this is what we can do in order to be ready when the structural changes happening outside is coming to us. And in 2020, you will be prepared. You have to be prepared to show up and work really, really hard, and to embrace your responsibilities, your duties, and to focus on making progress and building momentum. And your hard work will be rewarded. So don't worry about that, and just show up and work hard. Expect to work hard. Your manifestation will come through focused action. It's not just about manifesting while you're sitting in Zen meditation. It doesn't work like that, especially for next year. It's all about putting out energy outward with focused action. So don't confuse busyness as productive. So focused action is the keyword for next year while you are keeping yourself busy. Also, a very important reminder is that I would advise you to schedule all your major launches and important business activities as well as live events before the 8th of August. Because after that, we will be expecting a lot of chaos happening around the world. And it could make you, if you are planning in the second half of the year for your major launches, expect that might be changes needed due to what will be happening after that. So advices would be that you better prepare large-scale events, major launches on the first half of the year. And of course, if you are having your small business, building local business opportunities would be favorable to you, so that you'll be least affected by international trade. So these are general advices for you to prepare your 2020 in terms of energy. So which industry would be doing better than the others? We will divide them into the 5 elements. So in 2020, metal and water would be the dominant energy and the host, right? So metal industry would be having blooming and exponential growth. So the metal industries are the Western medical industry, music, plastic surgeons, government official, people in power, the courts and judges, competitive sports, armed forces, manufacturing, and finance industry, of course. Because metal also is related to money, right? But finance industry blooming doesn't represent the stock market, right? So don't confuse finance with stock market, because stock market has a lot of speculation in there and it's very hard to predict by energy forecast. The second element is water. So the water industries will be doing smooth as well. And we'll be having steady growth in 2020, which is talking about tourism, public communications, the logistics, the retail industry, the spa, energy, and emotional healing. So the fire energy, as I mentioned, that in 2020, the fire will be in high demand because everybody would love some warmth and compassion and fire optimism. So fire energy, the fire industries are the tech side, the internet related industries, makeup and beauty, media, advertising, psychology, working with the heart, and the food industry. So metal, water, and fire will be doing quite good in terms of industry next year, although it will still be affected by the global political landscape. But this industry will be doing okay next year. And the remaining two elements would be earth and wood. So if you remember in the birth chart of this year, that earth is a very strong element this year, but because the host is metal and earth produce metal, and that's why earth this year is very tiring. Actually, it's having heavy workload, and giving is more than receiving. So this year, if you are in the earth industry, it will be very busy, but it doesn't guarantee the profits will be as good as what you're giving out as well. But nonetheless, is a good year to build a foundation and to build accumulate a client base. So earth industry are those in real estate, in farming, in professional services like auditing, legal advices, insurance compliances. It also are related to gemstone stores and astrology, or any kind of ancestral work would be earth industry. And then finally, the wood industry. The wood element this year is at fight with the energy, so it represents a lot of verbal fights and miscommunication. If you are in this industry, that you should be aware of. And the wood industry are those in education, in culture, in herbs, in vegan restaurant, or you are analyst, any kind of technician, or working with big data. Big data will be a mixture of water and wood energy. So this is a general prospect by industry based on the elements. So this is what we see if we are relating the 5 elements with our own business, if we are doing business as entrepreneurs. So this is a cycle of how energy works with each other. So as you can see, this year we have metal and water as the dominant host this year. As entrepreneurs, our focus will naturally be focusing on refining the system, on refining the funnels, to fine tune the system to make it work better, as well as to fine tune the system to bring us more finances, a better operating finances. And we will also look into customer care and creativity more. So I will predict that the business trend this year for entrepreneurs will be focusing more on reviewing the user experiences, like your website, like your automation, the customer journey of your shopping experience. For example, if you are holding an actual business with a store, so the UX, the customer journey, the automation, the system refinement, and to support all this with the earth energy is all the logistic, all the operation steps, and the consistency of the whole thing is supporting your focus on refining the system automation and the user experiences improvement. So this will be the focus today. In 2020, in terms of businesses. So next, we will talk about who will be having better luck next year. Probably you can guess by now that because this year we are having dominating metal and water energy. So if your lucky elements are metal and water, meaning that in your own matrix of elements in your birth chart, metal and water can balance out your entire matrix, which makes them as your lucky elements. Then this year you'll be having a really, really good year with strong metal and strong water. So how do you know your lucky elements? You can know it by your experiences. So you can take note of what kind of time or climate where you feel like you're most lucky. For example, if you tend to have better luck in rainy days, or you tend to have more luck when you are near the sea, then it could be that water is one of your lucky elements. We can have more than one for some people. Or if you are if you like warm climate very much, you can't stand cold weather, then very probably your lucky element is fire. So this is how we use our experience to record that and to guess what kind of element would be balancing out your natural element matrix. So this is number one method, by experience, to know what your elements are, what your lucky elements are. The second method is through your day of birth. So if your birthday was near the summer solstice, which if you are in Northern Hemisphere, it will be June 21st, then water is your lucky element, because summer solstice represents a strong fire element. So usually the opposite of the strong element would be your lucky element. So if your birthday was near summer solstice, then water is your lucky element. If your birthday was near winter solstice, then fire, the opposite of what is dominant in winter time, would be water, right? Then fire would be your lucky element. If you were born in the southern hemisphere, you will be switching these 2 days in opposite side, because summer and winter would be switching. So if you were not born in either of these dates, then we need to take a look at your personal birth chart to see the unique matrix of your energy pattern in order to know which lucky elements that you have. So there's not a fixed formula in calculating that, unless you were born in these days. Okay? So what is the usage of lucky elements? It can tell us that what would be the lucky direction, lucky color, lucky element, even lucky food or shape or materials. But more importantly, we can use our lucky elements to tell us what is our most productive hours and what kind of activities that we can use to raise your vibration quickly, especially when you are in a rock bottom. Then these kind of activities are really, really helpful. For example, if your lucky element is wood, then when you are in a rock bottom, in a very stuck energy mode, how to utilize wood element as your lucky element is you can wake up every day and at 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. and go to the park to do your morning exercises, because wood represents growth and self-discipline and connection to nature as well. So when you have the discipline to wake up at 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. every day, to have your morning exercise in the park, working on your body, working on your chi, and to connect with the nature, then within 3 months, you would rise above the deep valley and to get unstuck. So this is something that only you know what your lucky elements are, then we can tell what kind of activities you can do and perform in a certain way to get yourself out of the vicious cycle that you might be having in your life. Of course, it also gives clues to our growth areas of our characters, of what balances out of our personal traits and our strengths and weaknesses. So this is what we can do with understanding our lucky elements. And of course, the most accurate way to know that is through having your natal chart reading. So just a quick advertisement right here. I'm doing a Black Friday offer. And if you are shopping everything in my shop that includes Feng Shui DIY playbook, some kind of astrology readings or Feng Shui reading or courses, there will be 80% off the entire chart when you use the code BF19. So this will be ending next week on the 2nd of November. So make sure you will be ordering the astrology readings. Right now is the best time when you have the 80% off offer. So we talk a lot about the energy of 2020, and then we will focus on the earth element. So remember the heaven, man, and earth element, right? So what we've already covered is about the cosmic weather. And then we will talk about the earth element, the Feng Shui element of the year. In simple terms, Feng Shui is how we facilitate the positive energy flow in our space. It could be living space, it could be office space. But I will be focusing more about home space more for now, for easy illustration. So we can see our home as a 3D vision board. And how do we decorate our home as a way that supports the positive energy flow? It's a wisdom. So there are a few layers that will be affecting our home Feng Shui. The first layer is the original floor plan versus those who are living inside. So we will take a look at the relationship between those who are living inside the home and the home floor plan itself. So a good Feng Shui home might not be as good as to whoever living inside. So there would be a compatibility between the people living inside and the home itself. So this is the first layer. The second layer would be the double decade influences, which is the flowing influences, the transit influences. And then the third layer would be the annual influences, which will be changing every year, which we call the 9 flying stars. It will be changing every year on the 4th of February, which is the day that I tell you to mark on your calendar. And we will see the interaction between the 9th flying star versus your original floor plan. And this is what we're going to cover now. And before we can take a look at the 9th flying star, you first have to have your floor plan ready. So when you have your floor plan ready, you are going to divide your home into 9 equal square grid. So you'll be standing in the center of your home, and then take a compass on your floor plan and to measure the direction. And then after the measurement, you'll be able to square off your floor plan and to divide your home into 9 sectors like this, according to the direction. So this is how we started. So if you don't have your floor plan ready, you can pause if you are having the recording, and then you can come back later to understand how this is going to be affecting your home in 2020. So after you have your floor plan ready, you can look at the chart and to check which star is falling into one of these areas. The most important is where your front door or your main entrance is the most important. The next one will be your bedroom, because this is where you spend the most hours asleep. And then will be living room or work desk, where you stay your longest hours awake. And then the next one, which is important, will be the stove, if you cook at home. So if you don't cook, then the stove is not as important. So, but these are the major areas that you want to focus on when you are looking in the chart and the flying star of this year. So this is the 9 flying stars. So let me have a quick verbal introduction. So the northeast would be the star number 1, the love and nobleman star. The south would be the illness star. which is not so good. So the not so good star would be colored in orange, and the good star would be colored in purple. So this is not too good and not very favorable. So somewhere in the middle. The third star is a quarrelsome star in the north. The academic and relationship star is in southwest. The Hudson star is in the east. The power and success star is in southeast. And then the robbery star is in the seventh, which is in the middle of the home. The number 8 prosperity star is in the northwest. And the celebration star is in the west. So every year, these numbers will switch to a different sector inside the home. So because it changes every year, it will take turns to occupy different places and rooms in your home. And that's why we don't need to focus on everywhere. We just need to focus on your main door, your bedroom, your work desk, your living room, and your stove if you cook. Now, someone might ask about the star number 1, which we have a term called nobleman. So what does that mean? What concept is it when we talk about noble people or helpful people? So it's a concept in Chinese metaphysics that our net worth equals to our net worth. So knowing the right people can save you a lot of effort and time to have the right opportunity delivered to you. So it's a concept that no one is an island. We are not alone. We are always connected to the collective wisdom. So we do not need to achieve everything on our own by ourselves. So this is the concept of noble people or helpful people that when we use this star correctly, we can amplify our network of influences and our network of mentors, of helpful people who are going to connect us with the right resources and right knowledge or the next right people to us when the time is right. So there will be 2 stars that is particularly important for everyone to know, to take note of. It's the number 2 and the number 5 star, which number 2 is the illness star and number 5 is the Hudson star. The illness star is in the southeast here, the south sector of your home, which is connected to illness like headache, heart issues, and eye problems. And the 5 yellow star is in the east here, which is connected to serious sickness, some kind of trouble, some kind of hurtings, or accidents. So these 2 are really bad influences, which everybody in every home should take note of. And it's not too difficult to actually negate the energy in these 2 areas. And to reduce the effect of the number 2 and number 5 star, which is the illness and Hudson star. So first, don't worry too much. And your first question is to see if the south or the east fall into one of the important areas, which is your main door, your bedroom, your stove, or your living room or work desk. Because if they are not falling into one of these areas, it's not as serious. So don't need to worry too much if it's not. But even if they fall into the south and the east fall into your main door, bedroom, or stove, or living room, or work desk, then you can use metal element to reduce the effect of these negative stars. So in case if it's your main door, you can put a doormat, which is in white or metallic color, and then place a piece of copper metal plate underneath. You can also see the dentist after 4th of February, go for blood donation, get a body checkup or blood test to kind of reflect the energy of hurting your body by proactively getting some kind of hurt through getting a body check or seeing the dentist. I would also advise those who are living in that space, if east or south is your main door or bedroom, that you will be avoid engaging in extreme sports and make sure you're following traffic regulation tightly. And if south or east is falling into your living room this year, try not to stay in these settings for too long and to move away your sofa. So this is the negative energy and what we can do about it. And then the lucky settings are number 1 and number 8 are the most powerful this year. Number 1 is in the northeast, which is the love and noble star, which is helping us to connect to clients, to helpful people, to our mentors, to romance, to side income, as well as our creative work. And number 8 is in the northwest, which is connected to prosperity and wealth. So I always say that the best Feng Shui strategy is really not about putting what kind of stuff over there. It's where you, as a living, breathing human being, spend the most time in performing activities that activate the energy of that sector. Meaning, if number 1 and number 8 is the most prosperous and most helpful star this year, then you better put your work desk or your sofa in number 1 and number 8 area, which is the zone in your house, the sector of your house in the northeast or the northwest. So someone asked, is it good that you put your bed in one of these areas? Is also good, but not as powerful as putting your work desk. For example, if you are having your own business and you want to earn even more in the coming year, so you'll be using your prosperity star sector to do business-related activities. It will be much more powerful to perform business-related activities to attract more wealth and prosperity than sleeping on the prosperity star. You know what I mean? So you, as a living, breathing human being, when you spend the most time in an area, then you are performing activities that are related to the energy of that area, then it will be the best Feng Shui strategy for you. So you might want to take a look at the replay of this webinar, because I share so much information that you might need time to digest. All right, so we've talked about how you can reduce the effect of the illness and harness that using metal element. And of course, there will be other more advanced level activation plans in terms of Feng Shui for 2020. So if you're interested to learn more about the specific and advanced activation plan, as well as how you can make a Feng Shui audit on your own inside your house, then you can take a look at my Feng Shui DIY playbook in my store. So when are you going to implement this activation? Like you moving your work desk to northeast or northwest to your prosperity star or the helpful people star, or when you are going to place your metal plate in your main door, if your main door fall in the east or the south, it would be on the 4th of February. So the timing is important. You're not going to move that right now. So do this action on or after 4th of February. And that's why in the beginning of this webinar, I remind you to mark this day on the calendar. It is for the Feng Shui activation. Okay. So there's a lot of information that I've just shared on how you can get aligned with the cosmic energy this year in your life and your business. So let me ask you, have you identified any things that you need to fix in your home or your office in terms of Feng Shui? I believe so. And remember this chart that we talk about heaven, human, and earth. And for heaven, for the cosmic weather, we cannot change it. However, for the human part, which represents our characters, our strengths, our weaknesses, our actions, our intention, and our decision, this is something that we can change. Of course, it starts with understanding who you are. You can do psychological quizzes. You can do astrology chart reading, natal chart reading, human design, doing personal growth programs or inner work. So these are things that we can consciously change through our actions and intentions and decisions. And then for the earth element, is about Feng Shui. We can also change a little bit, at least for our home, inside our home. Yeah, we can change the world, the climate. We can change a little bit by some effort, but we can definitely change something inside our home to help the flow of the positive energy. And the divine timing, don't forget that. You can always learn how to align with the best timing and to use them wisely. And all this adding together would give you a new future reality that is more favorable to you. So if you want to know how does the cosmic weather is affecting you personally, you can get a natal chart reading plus a 12-month forecast with me, which will talk about your talents, your strengths, your weaknesses, how you relate to your parents, your spouse, and your children. We also talk about your unique energy matrix at birth, which also tell us your lucky elements. We will also cover the key themes for the year ahead and a 12-month forecast month by month and have you highlight the best days if you are having big life changes like wedding, like moving, like business launches, or signing some kind of contracts. So this is what we will be covering if you are having a natal chart reading or 12-month forecast together with me. This is one whole package. Quick sample of how it's like. So, and if you are ready for a Feng Shui revamp of your house or office, you can get a personalized Feng Shui consultation with me so that you can align your personal energy with your home office, with the annual cosmic weather, as well as the divine timing to launch, to move, or to renovate. And remember, everything right now is 18% off, which I don't do discount very often during the year. So this is the best time if you want to invest in understanding and revamping your Feng Shui through a consultation. So to sum this up, next year, your year plan for spring and summer would be to work really hard, to show up, to focus on one big goal, and to build momentum and be courageous. And then in autumn and winter, which means the 8th of August and after that, be ready and expect heavy rainstorm will come in terms of our climate, in terms of the political environment and our economical environment. So be well prepared for that in advance. But don't be too gloomy about what will be happening in 2020. So what do you do when you know there will be a rainstorm in the coming weekend? It's actually the same when the cosmic weather is having rainstorm. At the very beginning, we talk about metal. Water is like the rainstorm. And so what do you do when you know there will be rainstorm in the coming weekend? We stock up of our food and grocery in advance. We fix the roof to avoid the leaking of water. We want to be alert of what is going on outside and have our plan B and plan C ready. So this is the same if we are having a cosmic brainstorm in terms of energy, that we will grow our reserve, we will want to perfect our system and to fix the leaking. We want to have plan B and plan C and want to be alert to what's happening in the outside world. We also want to spend more time for connecting with our close ones. We spend time in learning, in studying, in reading, in improving ourselves and inner works, and might be movie days as well. Also, it's a great time for us to figure out new ways to do things without leaving your home. Like, this is a kind of strategy that you are going to diverse your risk, like locally, or finding new ways to do business without being affected by the global changes ahead. So these will be the strategies for rainy days. Expect the rainy days and have plan B and plan C ready. Then you are good to go in 2020. So really focus on what you can control and adjust your expectation and be flexible. And rest assured that efforts and perseverance and your hard work will be rewarded. Focus on what you can control. Yeah, then especially for those who are having lucky elements in water and metal, then 2020 will be a good year for you. So I hope you enjoy the entire section of the webinar. I shared a lot of information. Feel free to have the replay when the recording is ready. That I really share a lot of insights through energy forecast as well as through my intuition. So I hope you are having some takeaway and benefits out of this webinar. And if you're ready to invest in yourself, to understand more about what makes you you, then don't miss out the Black Friday offer. I'm taking 18% off everything in my entire store, including courses as well. So thank you everyone who attend this live session, and I wish you health, have a happy holiday, and I wish you a very fruitful, peaceful, healthy, and prosperous 2020